we were just putting pictures on the internet, and then people just started kind of messaging us, and then it kind of grew a little bit, and then Vogue reached out and did an interview, and then 20,000 people overnight followed us, and then from there it just went from 20,000 to a couple 100,000, so what were we doing? Nothing. We were working our full-time jobs, and we were just kind of taking
doing
PTO,
this at night.
doing this at night,
My
and
goodness.
this turned into a second full-time job.
Yeah.
We always joke that it was our full-time unpaid internship. And we did that for a while.
Welcome back to another episode of Inside Hilton's Head, where today we're going to be taking a wonderful, wonderful adventure with two of the most lovely people I have ever had the pleasure of meeting. They are by far two of the most fun individuals. Well, one I know is insanely fun. Hung out with him in another place that I would have never thought I would hang out with people growing up, but hung out with this guy in Scotland and had a blast with him. But the two of them, Wally and Amanda, they are the creators and the faces behind Accidentally Wes Anderson, which I'm sure every single person knows about, but if you don't, what type of rock have you been living under?
You'd be surprised how many people have no idea who we are or what AWA is or who Wes Anderson is. They're like, oh, the horror film guy?
Are you serious?
Like our parents.
Our parents,
Your parents had
own
no
parents?
idea.
they kind of,
I mean, now because
they
we've
do.
ingrained
Now
it.
they do.
they didn't
Yeah.
before. No.
Well, you have made, if people didn't know who Wes Anderson was, which could have been many people.
A lot of people
I'm familiar with
still
Wes
don't.
Anderson because I grew up as a passionate film lover who then became a filmmaker. But now I'm in a different space, totally. But the idea of this Wes Anderson aesthetic has crossed all genre, I will say, and widely because you guys have made that such a big thing on social media. And for such a long time, I wondered, what is this? Who are the faces behind Accidentally Wes Anderson? And that moment I was just talking about when I was going to head out to Scotland for a branding moment with Hendrix. We were out there, and when they were telling us who was going to be there, they had this list of people. All the people who were going to attend, all the influencers of sorts who were going to attend. There was my face. Maybe I was working on a plant. There was someone else's face, and maybe they were painting. And then it was Accidentally Wes Anderson, just a logo. AWA.
That's so classy. I love that.
And I was like, whoa.
The mystery alive.
Who are these people? And I remember that first night we were in the hotel, we were at the bar, I guess, getting like mingling. Everyone's getting to meet each other. And there was this guy, and I remember, and I'm looking around. I'm like, who is, I know all these other faces because I know who they all are now because I've seen this list. But I'm like, who is Accidentally Wes Anderson? Looking around. And then I see you, Wally. Amanda, you weren't there. I see Wally, but I don't know your name is Wally yet. But you're just engaging, being funny, having a good time. And I'm like, that's definitely not those guys. And I'm still looking because I'm like, this AWA group, they must be a bunch of pricks, you know? Like, why do they just have a logo? Everyone else is like, this is us. We're going to be. And I was completely like the person that I met while you and what I've had my feelings of what the brand would be. Completely different, man. I was just like,
I love that.
I think this guy's amazing. I want to meet Amanda. I have to meet Amanda now after meeting you.
And here we are.
And here you are. So thank you for being in my
Welcome.
home.
Yay.
Thanks for having us.
Of course.
We're pumped to be here.
Pretty awesome.
I thought it was hilarious when you, I think we all had to go around the room that night and say who we were as like an icebreaker.
Sure.
And I remember everyone was going around and I was like, and I was there with our photographer, Marjorie Becker, who's our chief adventure photographer.
Shout out to Marjorie, also very lovely.
I love that title too.
Amazing human. But the two of us went. Amanda couldn't come for a number of reasons. It was a small thing. So the two of us came. And I remember we went around the circle. We literally were all in a circle. And they said, and then Hilton said who I am and what you do. And then I said, I'm Wally Koval and I'm with Accidentally Wes Anderson. And then Marjorie said, I'm Marjorie Becker and I'm also with Accidentally Wes Anderson. And someone came over, I don't know if it was you or who it was, but someone came over and was like, so who's really behind this? And they were like, and I was like, oh, we are. And they were like, but it's like a Banksy thing or like a Blue Man Group thing or like, it's like how many people are there? And I was like, there's like three or four of us.
Yeah.
And like, there was just like 2 or 3 people had gathered around. I think you were one of them. And everyone was kind of like, I thought this was like a massive team that was like doing this thing. And I was like, no, it's just, we just have,
us.
we have an iPhone. We put the pictures on the internet. We just do
the thing. We did the thing.
Put the pictures on the internet.
Our dog runs our HR.
Yeah, our dog runs our HR. But yeah, no, it was a very special little group of people, but I feel like there were connections made that were pretty awesome.
There were wonderful connections made, and that's what I guess brings you both here today. Because I was like, I had so many questions. Embarrassingly, had so many questions, and wanted your husband to answer them all. I was like,
I'm here for it.
Wally, please tell me about this. Tell me about that. So that's why they're on the podcast today, Molly. We're going to ask them so many questions that I believe a lot of you might want the answers for. And I'm going to start with the biggest question I know is out there. How did you two meet?
Oh.
In short, we met drunk at the beach.
Yeah.
What beach?
I mean,
Many people are drunk at the beach. What beach are you at first? Set the scene for us.
Okay, so I guess we would go down to Dewey Beach in Delaware, which is
Shout out Dewey.
Yeah.
Love Dewey.
where all long-term love affairs begin.
Are you from Dewey Beach? Are you
Both
from
Amanda
Delaware?
and I are from Wilmington, Delaware originally, so hour north of here. And we would go down for senior week or whatever. That was always the beach that Wilmington teens, I guess, would go down to.
But a lot of Maryland, too.
And Maryland,
a lot
sure.
of Maryland and Dewey.
But while we were down there, we were both living down there, I think, in different capacities. And we happened to meet in a very random place. And then
I think it was my house.
It was at your house.
Random
Very
place.
random,
That's
very.
so random.
Well, there were like three times leading up to that. The first time, I think I had met you, and she was working at an Irish pub called Irish Eyes, which is no longer there. And I went with my buddy to watch a soccer game, and we were like, let's get a beer at Irish Eyes and just like watch the game there. She was there, and I was like, hey, what's up? Completely forgot her name. 100% could not remember. And I was like, what is her name? So a friend of mine.
Because you were smitten at that moment.
100%. I
Copy.
mean, come on.
I hear you.
So we sat at the bar, and I was like, I have a buddy, our friend owned a surf shop up the road. He comes down here often. He's got to know maybe. So I called him. I said, do you know the people that work at Irish Eyes? He said, yeah. I said, there's a hostess here. I don't know what her name is. Can you find out for me? He's like, all right, fine. 2 minutes later, the phone behind the bar rings, and the manager answers, the bartender manager answers the phone. She's like, yeah, hey, Amanda, why? And I was like, Amanda.
Nice.
Later that day, the bartender manager went out to Amanda, and you can continue from there.
Tells me, as I'm on the phone with my best friend who also worked there but was off that day, tells me, somebody just called the bar and asked what your name was. And my friend listening was like, that's weird. I'm coming to pick you up. You're not walking
to
home.
pick you up.
Yeah,
Stay
she's
right
like,
there.
I think you have a stalker. I'm coming to pick you up. This is
That's a good friend.
a very good.
That's a really good friend. I like that.
Very good friend. I didn't find out. I think for years. I don't think you told me that for a long time. That it was
wow.
actually.
You kept that a secret.
Little
That was-
stalker action.
Yeah.
You didn't start with that on your first date. You didn't say, hey, I called the bar. Oh, wow.
But then, anyway, you were 20.
Yeah.
I was 21 or 22.
22.
Went to the bar that night or another night later in the summer, it doesn't matter, and came back after the bar, and a friend of ours was like, I think they're having a party down here.
Meanwhile, we were all wearing T-shirts with our address.
Don't do that, kids.
Yeah.
It's not,
To show so everyone knew where the party was.
Oh, my.
so anyway, walked into the party, saw Amanda, and then the rest is history. We've been together for
Since 2007.
2007, so
Math.
17 years.
17 years. And then as soon as we got together, I moved to Brooklyn
A month later.
like a month later.
Why and how?
I had done an internship in New York prior to graduating, and I just kind of fell in love with New York in general.
What were you studying in college?
Food marketing.
Are you serious?
Very serious.
Your face looks like you're joking, but are you?
No, I'm dead serious.
Oh,
He's serious.
A
Food
5-year
marketing.
food marketing program at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia.
What?
You do like 3 internships that are full time for 6 months at a time.
For sure.
And so it's like you're understanding like logistics and things in addition. So where you could do general marketing, you could also, you're specifically going into marketing at like Campbell's or Giant Foods or whatever. So 99% placement rate in this program after school.
Is that why you took the job?
I was the black sheep because I didn't go into that industry. I kind of finagled the system in a way, and it allowed me to do the internships in random places. I lived in San Diego for 6 months and like worked at like a refurb laptop place, but somehow like was taking classes online. Like it didn't. This is
amazing.
pre-online classes.
What a
Like,
versatile major you had.
I went to, when I lived in New York, I was working for a B2B publishing agency or publishing. I don't even know what
Literally
it was.
nothing having to do with food.
Nothing. However, the gentleman that ran the place was like smitten with me, and he was this like old school Gordon Hughes. I used to be on, shout out Gordon. I used to be on the radio, and he's like, wearing these like plaid pants and this crazy thing. He's like, Wall man, come on in, have a seat. So
It's a great nickname.
Wall man.
there were others that I'm not going to get into because they were weird. But I just said I'd love to work here, and he said, you have a job. And so that was it. I literally went to New York to interview, and the CFO was like, why do you have your resume? And I was like, I never sent it. And then she was like, I thought Gordon had it. He hired you. And I was like,
Cool.
okay.
Wow.
I'm very thankful for this job. Like the oversized suit and the black portfolio thing, like coming in for your first
Yeah.
job. And
So when you guys met, you were working at this internship.
I moved, and then I
you
moved
moved to
up
New
to the
York.
city shortly thereafter. But what kept us together was the fact that I needed a ride from the Chinatown bus that would bring me back to Wilmington on a regular basis.
So you hit her up for a ride?
So I was like, hey, what's up? And then we kept our relationship going. Shortly thereafter, Amanda moved to the city and went to pastry school.
Pastry school.
So you guys both sort of have a food background.
Yeah, we're in the wrong industry. I guess.
Kinda. I don't know.
I don't know about you, Wally. I think that's just the
Yeah.
title, food marketing.
I'm not in any
Sounds like you
industry.
didn't do much
I'm
with
in the
that.
industry of like, this sounds interesting. Let's try this out.
I love that.
I don't.
What can I get away with at this job?
I love it.
Yeah. I jokingly say sometimes that I think that, you're supposed to go to school to learn how to learn.
Yeah.
But looking back, I kind of learned how to find my way around a system or something.
Without learning.
Well,
You learned how to.
okay, let me give you an example.
Go for it.
High school, I went to an all-guys Catholic high school in Wilmington. At graduation, 2 people stood up having had perfect attendance through all 4 years of high school. I was one of them. And when I stood up, my buddy who was sitting next to me was like, shut the fuck up. Because he knew that I had ditched school also many times throughout school and whatnot, but I figured out how to get around it.
How did you cheat the system?
Well, if you went to school for the first 2 periods, it counted. And then I would just have my mom call me out because she knew I was afraid of getting a C. Like I was just petrified of doing bad. So I just would be like, Mom, everyone's skipping. And she'd be like, okay. And then call me out because I had perfect attendance, but I
did not.
I wasn't there the whole time, but I checked the box. So like,
Is that a box you wanted to check?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Like it was kind of like a streak at that point. You want to keep it alive.
Molly's all about always getting a medal or something.
that's your
He
thing.
always
You
wants-
like that.
But I
stuff.
don't want the participation medal. I have no desire for the
Yeah.
participation medal. I want the thing that I want the little tiny, just a little trophy or something. That's cool.
Just a little something.
A little doodad.
Yeah.
A little tchotchke.
Someone to acknowledge that you did a thing.
That I did a thing that I checked. That's
checked
a
it.
box I checked. I'm on this journey of life. I don't know. There's no roadmap. So let's just check some boxes and have little tiny things that say, did that.
Yeah, they're like little markers.
You know?
Yeah, okay, I love
like,
that.
What are you have what is it? When you start a new job and you have like icebreakers or whatever, why not have like a bunch of crap that you can pull from that's random?
For sure.
That you're like, perfect attendance all 4 years of
There
high
it-
school. And everyone's
Bam.
like, really? I would never have expected it. And I was like, me either.
Well, I can say that while I didn't do perfect attendance in high school, I was one that did the perfect attendance in middle school. That
Congrats.
also, thank you. But it wasn't something that I was trying to check any boxes. I just realized it the day that they said perfect attendance to Hilton Carter, and I was like,
Really?
I guess
Me?
I did show up every day. I never skipped school or left early.
I used to bring my vice principal McDonald's breakfast so I wouldn't get a late slip.
Wow. Whoa.
Bribery?
Bribery.
Bribery. Ditching
Whoa.
school. Scandal.
AWA.
Yeah.
Jeez.
AWA. Run by
I didn't want
cheats.
detention.
So while you were cheating the system, Molly, Amanda's
Skirting the system.
skirting the system.
Living within.
Using
the,
it to your advantage.
Use it to your advantage. You're in New York. Amanda's like, I love this guy. I'm gonna also go to a school in the same area that he's living.
Yeah, I think.
Well, we looked at you looked at Pittsburgh
Yeah,
first.
I did. And I was like, man, it's cold.
Yeah. But I'm gonna go to New York instead.
Yeah. Well, we also went up to Pittsburgh in a blizzard. So that
gotcha.
really didn't sell it for me.
Okay.
But she was coming up. She was working different restaurant jobs and then coming up for a long weekend, pretty much every other weekend,
Yeah.
and like staying with me and my roommate at the time, and so we kind of fell into a solid routine. And then I think after Pittsburgh was like, it is way too cold up here and it's so far away and no thank you. And I had developed a group of friends that she then, through coming up to the city, also fell into. And so then it was like,
Yeah, it just made sense.
so then we
Makes sense.
hopped on Craigslist and found you the least creepy apartment we could find with the least creepy roommates. And
That's how it works.
yeah, that was it.
So now you're both in New York. I need to understand something because I'm like, where does this all happen? You know, like I think it kind of works for me as well. Like people see me, they're like, I remember this guy doing something so different. What is he talking about with plants? Do your friends feel that way about you when they're like, this is my friend Amanda. She was so into pastries and doing these different things, and now this is her life. At what point? Because I'm wondering, because I've talked to you about this before, Wally. My question is, like photography, filmmaking. There's so much of that in what your brand is. Was there already a passion for that at the surface for the both of you?
I think for the photography stuff and videography, I'm not good with. I have always been interested in it, and I've always probably taken way too many photos prior to this. And it was always like kind of a thing with the photography where it was like I wanted to capture the moment because I was afraid I was going to forget it. So I was taking tons of photos. This is pre-iPhone, pre-anything. And it was like disposable cameras. Like I would just have one on me. Like it was just, 90% of that went to nowhere. But still, it was just like capturing that moment.
Sure.
And then videography stuff, I thought, I was riding the train around working sales at the time up in the city. And it was like I was going to these sales meetings and I would just see stuff and like it's very easy to get lost in your day-to-day. And I was just kind of in these moments in between meetings where I was kind of posting up at a coffee shop or finding somewhere to just do a little bit of work, stopping for a second and noticing the things around me in a way, if that makes sense.
Of course.
So then capturing video on the phone or whatever, and then just piecing it together in some silly app that I downloaded or something. But there was always an interest in that.
Yeah. I think we were also just like addicted to having the newest thing. Like whenever a new iPhone came out or like a new digital camera, it was like, whoa, look how this one captures it versus this one.
Got it.
And editing then became a big thing. At least for me, I love just sitting and editing photos even if I know I'm never going to use it or no one's ever going to see it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yin yang, hate editing. love editing.
or
so
I'll
perfect.
Yeah,
No, I
or
do-
I'll take a terrible photo on purpose to like see if I can fix it.
I love that.
It's like a puzzle.
I love
I have
that.
so many photos to send your way.
Submissions
Yes.
are always
Yeah.
open.
love it.
Submissions
It's
are
not
always
AWA related. It's just like my photo.
Oh, well, then we'll take them anyway. Submissions are still open.
What magic you can do with them.
You can send them.
She wants to send her personal photos
I
your
know,
way.
like my selfie. Just be like, can you edit?
Bill her for that. Please don't send that to Hilton Carter. So all of a sudden you are out taking photos of the things that you both are into.
Mm-hmm.
You have your own accounts on social.
Mm-hmm.
You're sharing things like normal people share things. Maybe what you ate, a nice croissant that you just saw at a bakery. You're like, I can make this like this, but here's one that's really nice. Or maybe you are taking photos of your own pastries
Yeah,
at this point in
that's it.
time. That as well. At a certain point, what was the thing that started it all, I guess? Because there was a photo that you must have taken that you said, this looks like a certain aesthetic that I've seen before and was into. Or you were like, I am going to take a photo of this scene because it feels like that aesthetic to me. What was the thing that happened?
I think it was a combination of a few things. So it wasn't a start of. It wasn't even the love of photography necessarily as much as it was of travel.
Yeah.
And so I'd been really fortunate to be able to travel some early on when I studied abroad and, went to different places. And when I just had this like passion for it. So one of the first trips we took, we drove up to like Montreal and then to Quebec City, which feels like a completely different world if you've never been there. It's wild. And we were kind of we started finding all
Yeah,
these.
we got the bug like immediately.
We started finding all these places that seemed really interesting that we would love to go. And Instagram, like the Instagram arc, so to speak, was hitting right at that time where like the beginning influencers were going to places, but they were posting these beautiful photos and then they're like, India. And I'm like, okay, well,
It's a big place.
that's a big place.
Can I have
So-
some coordinates?
Luckily, in trying to skirt the system, I had learned, reverse image search and all of these things. So I started doing my own digging of these places since they were gatekeeping what it was. And then I started okay, we should make you have a list of movies that you have that like when you sit down, you don't scroll through Netflix for an hour, you know what you want to watch or TV shows. Why not make like a list of places that we want to go? So I started just finding these places that I wanted to go and always been a fan of Wes Anderson, always been a fan of his work. And I feel like it just was, about the time, I'm not sure, started seeing these places that looked like they could have been plucked from one of his films. Maybe we got off the plane a little bleary-eyed or something. And so it just, at that moment, I was like, oh, I know how Instagram works. That's going to be my list, not like a note in my app. I'm just going to like once a day. And at the same time, there was this other trajectory, so to speak, of me being like, I need to challenge myself to do something. So once a day, every day, you're just going to like post a place that you'd like to go one day. So it was like travel bucket list. You can post something that you find on the internet. It was not my photos. It was not our photos. It was things that we had aspired or would like to aspire to go see. And then I would also challenge myself to like find out from that like reverse Googling what it is, where it is, and when it was built or established. So just to give some context to the place. So I just started it without even, I just did it.
On your own.
Yeah.
I wasn't, this was not a grand plan. This wasn't even something I had started with her. We had a bunch of, I liked messing around on Instagram. Our dog, Dexter, is a former semi-retired pup fluencer. Because we got a puppy and he's super cute. And then like
our entire Instagram feeds are just going to be Dexter. We
Yeah.
should just start him
Have
his
his
own.
own.
And then
sure.
I love
he
that.
had like 11,000 followers. And we were like,
What?
whoa, Dexter,
He needs
what
to
up?
be our next guest.
Yeah, we definitely need
so you
Dexter on here.
have Dexter. You
Yeah.
have the background of Dexter.
Yeah.
I had a new job at this company called Content Marketing Institute. And they basically, we were learning all of this stuff about marketing and consistency and messaging
Yeah.
and stuff that I was like, okay, well, I can practice this. And I practiced it on Dexter's stuff. And I was like, wow,
at you.
that was a little sprinkling of magic. That seemed to work.
Yeah.
Cool.
So then I'm learning new things that I don't really know about, but I'm supposed to be selling people on. And so I was like, I should try it myself.
Yep.
Right.
And so I was just implementing, okay, we'll use a strategic like hashtag strategy or a consistent messaging or a tone or whatever and try these different things.
Yeah.
So it was part travel bucket list, part experiment, part this seems like a good place to do it because I've done it here before, and part I want to go to these places.
For sure.
So
It just happened so organically.
Yeah.
Like starting with just like you wanting to take photos personally for like documentation and just cataloging to having this job where you kind of are infused to sort of forced to learn about tone and aesthetics and all of that. And then just loving to travel and wanting to do that. It's just so, it's so interesting hearing like the origin story of like any person who's like famous on the internet. It's sort of like, like where did this come from? And like
Don't
mostly
throw up the quotes. You are famous.
Y'all real famous.
Yeah.
Instagram famous is like being rich in Monopoly money. Like it is so fleeting, and Uncle Zuck could just change the algorithm tomorrow,
true.
or
That's
shut
true.
your account down, and then you're like, look at all these Monopoly monies I have, and you're like, okay,
You're
bro.
like, bye.
But I will say, and we can talk about this further later, you have
shut down my
diversified
account.
yourself, your brand enough that even if he decided to turn the switch off on your Instagram feed, you have enough, I would say, presence, draw, pull, just the name is out there enough. And with that being said, coming back to that name, you said you were a fan of Wes Anderson. Not sure if you were as well.
yeah.
But that first image, is it, again, just to hit it on the head, was it I see Wes Anderson in this, this is the start, here's the image, but or are you capturing imagery of places that you want to go to, or you're aspired to go to, or things that you're seeing, and you started that, and then all of a sudden you were like, I think I'm going to try this Wes Anderson thing out.
I think that it had been a number of the places that I had stored. I didn't have this plan of even making an Instagram account, but I had started taking photos that I found finding photos on the internet or on Instagram or on any number of websites. And I was just saving them on my phone, being like, this would be cool. I got to reverse image search this. I got to find out where this place is. And then as I was finding that, I was literally keeping it in a notes app. And then there was and then I looked at this folder of photos and I was like, this is all pretty symmetrical and pretty straight on and pretty whatever. And so that's just how
The theme found itself.
that was
Well, the theme didn't find itself. His love for a Wes Anderson aesthetic was a passion or a love that he also had. Like he loved that aesthetic enough that he was collecting all these things. And he was like, oh, maybe my aesthetic is this.
I think the
right?
realization came after you started collecting.
For sure.
And you're like,
For sure.
there's
You saw it.
something here.
But then when I go back and look at things, there's certain people always say, well, what's the most AWA photo, or what are the traits that are in an AWA photo? And I think that there's a divide, not a divide. It can exist in different areas, meaning something can be Wes Anderson and not symmetrical, not a certain color palette, not have this air of nostalgia. You can also take those three things and they could be not Wes Anderson at all, right? So the traits can be removed from the bucket of Wes Anderson or the bucket of AWA, but AWA exists in a way that I go back to all those photos that I was taking. Maybe it was part because I was watching a lot of Wes Anderson movies when I was younger. I don't know. But the symmetry, the straight on, the backing up to get the clouds over the horizon or the full shot. I always was like, why did you take that picture that way, Mom? You know what I mean? Like, why didn't you just back up a little?
Yeah.
And this isn't, I don't even know how to use a DSLR. I know how to push and click, but I don't have a background in photography. I don't have a background in any of this stuff. It was just like, maybe there's just something in my brain that's just like, can you just straighten that out a little bit?
Yeah.
And so the trait of the things that I was attracted to, maybe there's a Venn diagram where I'm in the middle and it's like part just random traits of things and part
OCD.
maybe, and then part not to that extent, but maybe, and then there's part of what Wes Anderson's all about, and we just happen to, I don't know. There's like a connection there that happened. I don't know.
And we'll be right back after a break from our sponsor. Balancing work and life can be really stressful, and finding ways to work through the stress is always a goal of mine. Of course, the process of nurturing plants helps me to slow down, take a breath, and bring in joy. But unfortunately, my plants aren't licensed therapists with expert advice. Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp.com/Hilton. Clicking this link helps to support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. Starting this podcast was supposed to be a little extra therapy for me, getting the ideas in my head out. Good to know I can always use BetterHelp just in case Molly can't help me. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Hilton. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel. Now, back to the show.
And we're back.
And we're back. And we're back.
We're joined here by us and you.
Us and you.
And
Yes.
we are having fun.
Yes.
Are we having fun? I'm having fun.
I'm having fun.
I'm having fun.
Yeah,
Do you
I'm
have
having a
those
lot of
moments
fun.
when you guys have to check in on each other, make sure you're still having fun with the brand?
Oh yeah,
God, that's such a real thing. All the
a
time.
regular basis.
All the time.
Yeah.
It gets real. And we have to like stop. And mostly, I mean, Amanda said this early on, is that like, to me, like you need to just appreciate this for a minute.
Yeah, and if we're not having fun, what are we doing this for?
Yeah.
Totally.
The new mantra is like, if we're not having fun, what is the point? Because
All the way.
you know, the progression and evolution of the brand as a thing and the community as a proper noun and like this living, breathing thing. We were just putting pictures on the internet and then people just started kind of messaging us and then it kind of grew a little bit and then Vogue reached out and did an interview and then 20,000 people overnight followed us and then from there it just went from 20,000 to a couple 100,000 and so what were we doing? Nothing. We were working our full-time jobs and we were just kind of taking
Doing this at
PTO,
night, yeah.
doing this at night
My
and this
goodness.
turned into a second full-time job.
Yeah.
We always joke that it was our full-time unpaid internship. And we did that for a while. And then it started to become real. And then we started going on adventures. And now we have people that we have to pay, you know, we have a team. And like, it used to just be like, okay, if I can make my rent and if I can, you know, we have a small number that we have to come up with. So if all goes to hell,
We're good.
we're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now as it's grown, there's more responsibility. So as soon as that one thing just happened, for instance, we had an exhibition and that exhibition was amazing and there was a lot that we could celebrate there. As soon as that was over, it was like, we have to plan for this next adventure because I just look at it like, what do we have to do now to keep the car going? Right? We built
That's
the car.
literally something that Hilton struggles with and we've talked about is just
Yeah, I've talked about it
taking
on
the
this podcast.
moment to enjoy
so
and
hard.
celebrate and recognize the work you've done before you move on to the next thing. It's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, like you just said, I am constantly having that struggle all the time. I'll have a book come out. I have a collection come out of these stores, and it's just like, can I celebrate that one thing at that very moment? Because when you were just playing around and seeing it as the thing you're having so much fun with, the first few months, let's say, if someone came to you and said, we're going to give you an exhibit of all this work that you love so much that you've put together. Do you want this? You would probably go, yes. Where do I sign? How much do I have to pay?
Right.
Possibly, because you love this thing that you're doing so much, and then you put that stuff out there and you do it. But then it's like when you're constantly going, and it's that thing where you're like, I did this thing. Now what's next? You never settle and go, let's take a moment and celebrate what we just achieved. We spent all this time. We put all this effort to do this thing. It happened, and then we were like, oh, okay, what's the next thing?
Now we got to go to the next one.
Yeah.
I think that's a real thing, though, with creators in general, and I feel like we've learned a lot about that with so many photographers. You know, our book is 200 locations from all over the world. We worked with 180 photographers in 60 different countries to put it together. We have become very close with many of these photographers over the years, and recently at our London exhibition, met up with 9 or 10 of them.
Which was so cool.
That's so cool.
awesome.
It was amazing.
IRL, like, together.
And there was like maybe 100 people there, members of the community. There was like press and people there. It was a very quick, like, whirlwind of a thing. And I literally ran around and grabbed them and I put them in a space and I said, do
we're
not
all getting
move.
a picture
Don't
together.
move. And I went and got another one. I pulled them out of conversations. I was like, I am so sorry. You need to come over here. And I like went around and I was like, I went around. I was like, Jeffrey Zum, Paul Fuentes, and I named all these people. And I got to Claire, who's this other woman who's from a photographer from the UK. And she was like, if you know my last name. And I was like, Claire Walker. And she was like,
Oh my God.
Amen.
and I was like, you are all photographers from the AWA community with a capital C. You are all part of this thing.
Yeah.
And we've never met some of you. And none of you have been in the same room together.
Yeah.
I just want to like
Breathe it in, yeah.
take a deep breath
I love it.
while people are like pushing by us and it's loud and we're supposed to get on
course.
stage and talk and
course.
do some things. And later we had a chance to talk to some of them who are super successful.
The
and
nicest humans.
the
We
most-
could not have gotten like a better group of people that were in this book and coming up in the next one. Just like every person we've met has been amazing. Like just the most amazing people.
And I think that you look at people from the outside, seeing especially some of them who have big followings on the internet and they have successful brands of their own. And I remember being very nervous as AWA, as myself, to reach out to some of them and ask them to be part of something because I'm like,
sure.
they got all their stuff together.
That's
They're like,
also the imposter syndrome kicking in again. You're like, I'm just me doing this little thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a part of it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then learning from each of them in that exhibition, going around like three or four of them, we were in one area. And I remember everyone was like kind of quiet. And then one of them was like, I honestly don't know what I'm doing. And every single one thereafter was like, me either. I don't either. I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody knew what they were doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. No. So the imposter syndrome, everybody puts up this front, like, because I feel like you need to, not because you want to.
Yeah.
You just think everybody else knows what they're doing. And so you have to act like, yes, I understand what
Definitely.
that acronym means in the marketing meeting. You know what I mean? But really, nobody's taking notes.
Yeah,
They're all
yeah.
frantically Googling
For sure.
the acronym in the marketing
Yeah,
meeting.
for sure.
So I don't know. I also don't know where the question was or if there
That's
was one. I don't know
fine.
where
It
we
wasn't a
are,
question.
but-
We just came off. We just came out of nowhere with this because. So I want to kind of go back to what we were talking about before because you went all the way through. You already mentioned a second book. You talked about a show, an exhibit that you guys have. I'm like, what? They don't even know what we're talking about. I want to make sure we do give all of that. We celebrate those moments.
Celebrate the
in this
moments.
episode. But something that you brought up, which I think is very dear to me in my own space, is community. You talked about your community.
Capital C.
Capital C. How did you come up? How did the crowdsourcing, the community, the AWA community, how did that come together?
I mean, we just started finding random pictures on the internet to begin with because our thing wasn't a thing yet. So it was like there was no hashtag Accidentally Wes Anderson to search. So I just started searching random hashtags like empty stadiums, empty seats,
And then super soon thereafter, people
plastic
just
facades.
Yeah.
Like,
Super soon thereafter, people just started DMing us and were like, "Hey, I saw you posted this place. Have you ever seen this?" And so the DM started to like, become the submissions.
So when you say the DMs, is that on Wally's account, or we have already started
Already started.
Accidentally Wes Anderson account?
I think it was July 2017 is when we put up the first post. And then from there, I didn't do anything or outreach. I just tried that like, well, let's just have a consistent hashtag and just see what that does. See
Yeah,
if this
it was
whole stuff works.
kind of like a Pinterest board, but on Instagram.
Yeah.
Take me to that
then-
first post. What is that? What does it look like?
Do you want to know what's crazy?
What?
You don't know?
It was
I
Furka
do.
Pass.
It was Furka Pass. It's the picture. It's not that
That
picture,
photo.
but it is a picture of that place.
No way.
And we didn't realize that until after this book had come
No
out.
way.
Yes.
No.
We didn't realize that
Swear to
until
God.
recently when we were like, what's the first post? And we went back and we're like, oh my God.
That's like creepy. How
Yeah.
did that happen?
That's not creepy. I love that.
no, like a good creepy.
All accident.
Okay.
It's all an accident.
Accident.
The whole
Yeah,
thing
literally.
is
Accident.
an
But let's
accident.
take a brief moment here and just break down what good creepy is. Because
good creepy.
Some people say people are creepy. Is there a version of a good creepy? You
That's
said
a
it.
version of a good
That's
creepy.
good
Yeah,
creepy.
that's good creepy.
That is. There's meant to be.
It's just
There's
so
not a good version.
serendipitous.
There's not a good creepy.
Not in
Like
the
you were
human.
like, I met up with this guy on
Yeah.
a date for the first time. He's a little creepy, but good creepy.
creepy, the good creepy. No, that
Well-
doesn't apply there.
Actually,
Actually.
I think there is. I think there is good creepy.
Tell me more.
We were in Nevada.
Oh,
It's not Nevada. It is Nevada.
for sure.
We were working with Travel Nevada, the tourist board. They challenged us to go and explore some unknown spots.
Challenged you.
The 3 gals that we were on the trip with, Morgan, Grace, and Marjorie, our team members, core team, went to visit Coffinwood,
yeah.
which is a place where this gentleman makes coffins. However, creepy.
Yes, creepy.
But when they met him, he was super sweet and he was super nice.
He
And
also has
so
an animal sanctuary.
He has an animal sanctuary.
good creepy. Good
Good
creepy.
creepy.
That's it right
Hold
there.
on. I got one better for you.
What?
Ooh.
There's this guy I know. He's really feeling this lady.
Okay.
Nice young lady. He's in this spot. He's like, I really think she's cute. I forgot her name. I'm gonna make a call.
Touche.
and figure out who it is, and that's Wally. And
Good
creepy.
creepy.
That's good creepy.
Good creepy.
You are the prime example.
I'm gonna add that. Someone please put that on my LinkedIn.
I
Good creepy.
think Amanda's friend might say, Wally was good creepy.
That was
Yeah.
good.
Wally,
creepy.
good
All right.
creepy.
Also a good band name.
Band name. Great band name.
Creepies. Yo, have you heard their latest track, Good Creepies? Like,
Any good band name, you have to imagine them getting on stage and saying, "And we are good creepy." And that's so. We have
love
a
it.
running list of band
I
names.
love it.
We do for 6
That's something
years.
actually. That's something else. Okay, you're starting something else.
Whole
on the
nother
side.
podcast.
Whole
Okay.
different time.
Okay. All right.
We'll share some of our favorites later.
I'll be into that. Let's do it. So you have this community. You're at a certain point. Who decides to start the hashtag? The hashtag is already born in the first post.
We had already, I put the hashtag in there just because it was a trial and
Got
error
it.
kind of a thing. See if you can turn this. That was like,
And
That was the thing.
hashtags were
That was a
Gotta
part
go
of
in. Yeah.
your schooling, I guess. In the
kind of like
marketing.
learning, making sure I can, when I'm trying to sell some company something, that I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
For sure.
so hashtags.
Yeah.
guys.
Hashtag.
Have you heard of hashtag?
Hashtag.
And so
Well, sidebar really quick. Around this time, 17, 18, my wife and I probably are married at this point, but her mom comes over that fall, and she said, I mean, she's so sweet. We still laugh at her about it. She's a bit older. She goes, for Christmas, I would love some hashtags. We were like,
Wait, what?
we got you. We got you. But
got
we,
you.
whatever, what
Thousands
did you
of
want?
hashtags.
She thought that she had to buy them. She thought that there was some sort of way of buying, because she was starting her own little side business,
That's so
painting,
precious.
and she wanted hashtags.
Did you invoice her?
We should have. But okay, so you have this hashtag going. You're getting DMs from
Random people
who you don't see as the community yet, but they are.
I didn't know what it was. I thought, it was just this people that found the account somehow or, empty seats or hashtag empty stadium or hashtag whatever. And I would add, 3 or 5 relevant hashtags to ours. And then so people started finding the account. And I think that the way that I set it up was the way that I try to express it without the way I was thinking about it was I was unknowingly kind of setting a dinner table, right? So I was setting up for a party, so to speak. And that continued to happen on a day-to-day basis. I was just consistent with it so that when somebody popped their head into the door
For sure.
and looked at this, there were ordered place settings and you were like, okay, I kind of get what you're doing here. It wasn't, they posted once 3 weeks ago and now there's a picture of a cat and like, I don't know what's happening here. I'll come back when the table's set,
Yeah.
So people just kind of stuck around and it is a pleasing thing. The symmetry and those sorts of things, I think is just genuinely like a nice calming sense to some, maybe not to all, but, and I feel like that's,
People love it. People love it. Look,
Pleasing.
I'm a huge fan of Wes Anderson, a huge fan of AWA as well.
here.
So to me, that aesthetic has always been pleasing. I was talking about earlier, before we started, the idea that there are filmmakers who have a certain aesthetic that you could kind of copy. Me, being from Baltimore, one of our heroes, filmmaker-wise, is John Waters. I could start an Accidentally John Waters account. You decided to go with Wes Anderson. At a certain point, your following is growing. Your brand is becoming a thing.
It's becoming a brand.
It's becoming a brand. But the name on your brand is a name of someone who's already out in the world. How does that work?
Carefully.
Insert imposter syndrome once again.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't set this out to be a thing that would ever make $1. I just kind of set it out to be an account, I guess. And then so let's fast forward, the community grows. It gets to a point where we are looking at these photos and we're like, these photos belong somewhere awesome.
Yeah.
This would be an awesome book. We happened to also at the same time get a random email from, just so happened to be a person that I knew from high school. His name is Mike Zerban, and he is our editor today. And he said, if this is the Wally Koval I think it is, I'm a fan of your account and I would love to make a book. If not, I'm still interested in making a book.
Well, you forgot the most important part to that was that you played soccer together in high school.
Yeah, we went to high school and played soccer together, and
That is very important.
It's important.
No,
So
there's
he
Delaware
reached out
connection.
to you knowing who you
Teammate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
teammate.
You know what I mean? Like, so he's trying to bring the team back together.
Or if you're a random Wally, still into it.
Yeah.
Well, he loves what he's seeing.
I love that
Of course,
part.
no. He reached out because he found the account and was a follower and a fan of the account. So the book kind of happened very organically in that, and serendipitously in that we didn't plan on any of this. It grew to a certain extent. People found it. I had just so happened to accidentally set the dinner table so these people would come and sit around it and start conversing, whether through DMs or in the comments of this is cool, that's cool. Mike found it, emailed us, and then we thought, yeah, this would be a really interesting place I would love to see these photos on my coffee table.
For sure.
So then comes the big question of, well, that's not your name.
Yeah.
And AWA.com is definitely more expensive than you can afford. So we had to reach out to Wes. I hand wrote 30 versions of a letter.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You just said we have to reach out to Wes Anderson. So if I want to just reach out to Wes Anderson, what does one do to just go, I'm going to reach out to this person? Now, I know that we're in this social media space now where we can DM someone.
Sure.
I actually have never looked up to see if Wes Anderson has an Instagram account.
doesn't. He
does not.
He would not. That's how I would guess. So what are you doing? How are you
And you
reaching
have
out?
to find the mailing address because you're trying to send a handwritten
Okay.
letter.
So I skipped a part that our agent, who is just a friend of a friend, like this whole thing is piecemeal. Nobody as part of AWA was educated in what they do today.
Got it. Give me one moment to understand just one thing. we're 2017, mid 2017 when it starts. At what point are we now? We're talking about making
2018, we get an email from Mike. 2018.
No.
We were in
Yeah.
Argentina. We got an email from Mike. Late 2018, we are introduced to and start working with Chris, who is a friend of a friend, now our agent.
Got it.
And then I think early 2019, we are
Starting.
reaching out
Yeah.
to Wes. And by reaching out to Wes early 2019, that looks like our agent, who's part of an agency, they either like have connections to people or whatever. For
sure.
So Wes has a lawyer and the agency has lawyers. So they said, we're going to send a note to him. And I said, can we send like a real one? Because that feels better.
Yeah, for sure.
And
He
so,
would so much appreciate that.
That feels so him.
that was it. Our agent's lawyer reached out to his lawyer, and then we didn't hear anything for months. And here's the thing, the scary part, which ended up being really interesting and even more serendipitous about this entire thing, is the fact that he could have been, you have this idea of people in Hollywood, of directors and people that are like, well-known.
Yeah.
And they can say, here's a cease and desist.
I'm
delete it
surprised you
tomorrow.
didn't see that in the 2 years that you first started. Because you're talking about Vogue magazine. His name is mentioned.
Vogue, The Guardian, New York Times, all of these things. There were many, many articles of things,
Yeah.
and I was just waiting for it.
Were you just nervous?
Yeah.
Like, it was
Yeah,
gonna
it was
come one
kind
day?
of just like a ticking time bomb in our head of like, all right, well, let's see how long we can have this going
Right.
for.
I mean, and also you're even reaching out. It might not have even gotten to Wes Anderson
Right.
himself. Like
His
it's not
lawyer could have
easy to-
just deleted it.
Exactly.
His lawyer could have just sent the cease and desist
these,
or
yeah.
give that.
Like they're not aware, and they go, hold up, what?
Right.
Oh, cease and desist, kill this right now.
Yeah. And then one day, I guess this was late 2019, no, mid 2019, we heard back from Wes and his lawyer, and they were like, this seems cool. And Wes, to this day, has been insanely gracious and trustworthy and providing us an opportunity to take an idea that he has crafted and explore what that looks like in the real world. And so mid 2019, we signed a contract for a book, and we had to get that done in 1 year. And then late 2019, we had our first real adventure where we worked with Hotels.com and went to Japan. We didn't know what we were doing. We had to hire a buddy who was a photographer, like a real one, like DSLR photographer.
Like the real one.
Yeah, make an
had to
itinerary and
Make
like
an itinerary, find
have a shot list.
Wow.
And then December 2019, we had a very long conversation and decided that I would quit my job because this was growing to a certain point that like, okay, we just made a little bit of money on this hotels thing, but we have this book contract, which is cool, not life-changing money by any means, but we have enough that we can pay our rent. Yeah. And we're still in the same apartment that we had been in up until that point for all of those years. And I'll quit my job. And if after 12 months we can't make rent, then I'll just go get another job.
Yeah. But give it your all first. Try it out. Yeah.
How scared were you, Amanda, for that to take place?
Say that again?
How scared were you? Were you nervous for that moment, or was it at a point with the hotels thing you were like,
I could see the ball rolling, and I knew that if we wanted the book to be a success and to have someone needed their full attention on it, us working until midnight, 1 a.m. every night, and then going into work at 9 a.m. was just like becoming such
We did
a
that
grind.
for like 7 months.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It was like a lot.
And that was just photo selection. We weren't even into the writing portion of the
sure.
book yet. So I was like, there's no way. Like, there's literally no way we're going to be able to do this. So I was like, yeah, let's just, if we're ever going to do it, now's the time. We don't have kids. Like, we have the capacity to kind of start over if we need to. We're young enough, and we have a good deal on an apartment. So, you know.
So much more thoughtful than me. I was like, I'm so scared. I don't want to do this. But what if we don't have a paycheck?
I'm an imposter.
So yeah,
You're always the anxious
And then the
one,
world
it's
fell
fine.
into a volcano. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
good time
2
to start.
months later, yeah.
Good time to start a travel brand is January
During a
2020.
pandemic.
So you hit it. You hit it on the head. We are sitting across from a travel brand.
Travel brand, yeah.
Across the board, travel
think so.
brand. So with that being said, the idea of a travel brand, the name still is Accidentally Wes Anderson, but it's a lot of the abbreviation of AWA. I love saying AWA. Just love that.
Amanda Wally Adventures.
Is that
Was that intentional?
No.
None of this was intentional. We're
Again. But
we barely
am I
put the
doing here?
address to
good
hear
backup
correctly.
plan if we did get that
serendipity
season.
or like creepy?
Good creepy.
Good creepy.
Good
Good creepy. Not creepy good. Creepy good.
I like that
that
too.
too. Actually, I like creepy good.
I kind of like
Very
good better than good
Yes,
creepy.
creepy good.
Creepy good. I'm gonna use that.
Creepy good.
That's creepy
I feel like
good.
you have to say it like that
Yeah.
too.
Hold on. So you're now. Hold up. Is that the pivot? What are we saying?
That was
AWA.
Oh well, that I mean, is AWA the pivot? You mean?
Is AWA Amanda and Wally Adventures? At what point did you see the acronym as maybe that versus Accidentally Wes Anderson?
Before we sent the letter to Wes, because
Yeah.
if he came back and said no, turn it off.
your plan B.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing.
Nice.
If you think of the name, right, and you think of the Instagram account, the name is kind of the sign on the front of the door.
Yep.
People have come into the door, they're in the store, they're hanging out, they're really enjoying what they're seeing.
Yeah.
If we change the name,
Nothing else changes.
maybe less people
Yeah.
come in the store, but nobody's leaving
The vibes stay the
necessarily.
same.
Yeah.
Everything is
So
the
true.
same.
So
because
true.
what we have done is, it's funny, you watch people pick up the book. We'll go do like book signings and things, and you'll watch people pick up the book and try to understand it. They'll be like, oh, so which movie was this from? We're like, it's not.
I bet
It's
you
a
get
real
that
thing.
a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
And that's cool because what our community is a combination of so many people who are fans of Wes Anderson, people who have never seen one of his films, creative directors, painters, architects, historians, people who just like to take pictures. I mean, there's so many more throughout there. So this in and of itself is a community of people that is so multifaceted, and they have taken what we have created or curated and put together with this community and found new evolutions
Yeah,
for it.
they just
new
ran
lives
with
for
it, for
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
And we'll be right back after a break from our sponsor. Balancing work and life can be really stressful, and finding ways to work through the stress is always a goal of mine. Of course, the process of nurturing plants helps me to slow down, take a breath, and bring in joy. But unfortunately, my plants aren't licensed therapists with expert advice. Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp.com/Hilton. Clicking this link helps to support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. Starting this podcast was supposed to be a little extra therapy for me, getting the ideas in my head out. Good to know I can always use BetterHelp just in case Molly can't help me. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Hilton. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel. Now, back to the show.
Welcome
Yeah,
back.
thank you. Welcome back.
Thanks for
Welcome
coming.
back.
Welcome. Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome.
So how do you say welcome in Korean?
환영합니다.
Ooh,
So much
cute.
better.
Yeah.
so much better. So
Sounds so nice.
but
Sounds welcoming, right?
It does.
just to say welcome back, that sounded like she said a lot of stuff there.
There was a lot of syllables
Yeah,
for welcome.
back. welcome.
I use the honorific. Yeah.
Okay, well that's nice.
Yeah.
Now,
Respect.
our friends here have been to Seoul.
Yes, we
Right?
have.
Yes.
You know, they've traveled to Seoul. They have a travel brand. They've been to Seoul. The one reason I know they've been to Seoul is because they have AWA, the exhibition,
Yes.
out in the world. You hit Seoul, you hit Tokyo. You're currently in London.
London.
Amazing.
How long are you in London?
Till
It's been extended a couple
June?
times. June, I think.
Until June.
amazing.
Yep.
And then after that, possibly Baltimore. That's what I've been hearing.
Well,
Word through the grapevine.
it looks like next month is going to be Los Angeles, which is a little far
Okay.
from
It's not-
Baltimore.
it's not
It's
Baltimore.
like different. It's like a different part
So-
of Baltimore.
So, but
LA
the feel,
County.
but the feel I'm getting. Actually, I don't know what started first. Was it Seoul or was it Tokyo?
Yeah.
Seoul was the first.
Okay,
one.
okay. So the feel I'm getting is we are making our way closer to where we are.
And then it just kind of like skipped over, but it's gonna come back.
it's going to come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Okay.
wanna
So
jinx
Seoul
it.
was first. Can we just talk about that? How
Yeah.
did that? Why? Tell me
When-
why I'm special. I'm kidding.
When our
has
book
nothing
came
to do
out,
with
Let me tell you,
You
why
are
it's
Everything
special.
to do with
You
me and
are
my people,
special.
Hilton.
okay, I forgot your people. Oh, now it's about her people.
Actually, okay. So the way that happened is the book is now in nine languages.
9 languages.
Amazing.
And one of those languages is Korean. And so when the book came out in Korean, we had outreach from maybe 5 or 6 different exhibition companies in Korea
Wow.
that said, we want to do an exhibition.
I love it.
I'm a fan of who got in first. So the first people that emailed us,
Yes.
we looked them up.
We're quick.
And they also were just, they
Really
knew
nice
what they were
people.
doing. They were
Oh,
super
good.
nice. And so that was it. We
That's so
curated a
huge.
bunch of stuff, didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And then
No,
we
they
thought,
just kind of asked for like 300 photos that they requested from our website.
They picked the photos. Got it.
And so we did outreach to 300 photographers
Oh my goodness.
to see if they wanted to be part of this thing. And
Was it
then-
a thing where they had to choose different photographers, like a different?
No,
Okay.
no. We didn't know why they were choosing which photos, and then we showed up, and it was like, oh my god,
was
they
emotional.
created the most amazing experience. It was 13 rooms and how many square feet?
I think it was like 8,000 or
square
10,000
feet.
square feet.
What?
And it
Like-
was open from November 2022, and then it was extended until 2020,
June or July.
June or July the following year.
oh
yeah.
my goodness.
And they had 250,000 people came through the door, many of which had no idea who we were originally.
Of course.
Now, and we went at the very tail end, and it was
I
unbelievable.
mean, they made a whole train that you could.
the whole room, it was
Yeah.
super.
they made a train for you, like a locomotive.
like
Yeah.
a room that felt like you were in this train and this whole, it was wild. They did an amazing job.
That's amazing.
And while we were there for 2 weeks, fell in love with Seoul in and of itself.
Yay.
Of course.
We went
It was
around,
amazing.
captured a ton of amazing photos via the chief adventure photographer, Ms. Marjorie Becker. And now we're putting together, that is one of the adventures that's in book number.
Book number 2.
Book number 2.
Look at you guys.
Just kind of looping that
Loving it.
into that.
I love it. You
Loving
did so
it.
good there.
Book
That
number
was-
2. Because look, I'm still stuck. Look, we talked about this earlier. No one is giving enough time to celebrate these damn moments.
As we talked about earlier. I'm
No,
really
like,
bad at
you're
that.
already
Moving
moving on. Let me talk about. Let me ask you about, I guess, because I want you to talk about it. The joy of seeing it, because it is in Seoul.
Dude, we cried. I mean, it was
Of
legit.
course you did.
We went in early, and we were walking around the space before it opened.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us were just like, it was like we were tearing up. And then, like, I could cry. I'm not going to cry, but I could, sitting there when they opened the doors, because nobody knows who we are.
Yeah.
So we're just people sitting there watching, like, these hundreds and
people
hundreds of people that are
enjoy it.
lined up.
Incredible.
Lined up. On a Thursday or
Wednesday,
Friday, whatever
yeah.
day,
Yeah.
at the end of this exhibition that's been open for 8 months, and there are people lined up waiting to get in, and they pour in, and they're like looking at the wall and the pictures, and they're pointing to each other. And one of the most, I think, impactful things was what the the gallery director in Tokyo told us. She said, our people are not, we don't interact with strangers in public. Typically, we stay to ourselves. To get to the gallery, there is an elevator that you have to take up and down to get to the gallery. She said, after running so many galleries and exhibitions, I'm not going to get upset. Okay, I'm not going to get emotional. After running so many galleries and exhibitions, I had never seen an experience where people came up to see the exhibition and were silent. And on the way down, they were interacting with strangers around them. They were talking to them and sharing their favorite photos and their favorite moments. She said, and she like underlined it, I have never seen that. And she's been in this industry for however long.
Right.
That was just wild to me,
Yeah.
that this collection of photographers who most of them took their photos on an iPhone or
Right.
on a smartphone. These are not, we have to underline that. We're not professional photographers,
Right.
and 95% of the photographers in our community
Right.
are not. And in that book, if you open that up, to Wes's favorite photo. It's right next to he wrote the foreword for our first book.
Photo.
The pancake photo. That is Kathy. Kathy lives in the UK with her
She's an
husband
amazing
and her
human.
newborn. And if you look at her Instagram feed, she used to do yoga. So it was her doing yoga, selfies of them at like a festival, and then one photo
Of the pancake?
of the pancake
Are
place.
you serious?
That's it. I mean, and she's just a normal, awesome human and doesn't it's just they go about their
That's
living.
what's so cool.
They're not out there looking for the shot.
No.
And that is Wes's favorite. So each of these photos by themselves may not be the most AWA photo, but like as a curated
Yes.
collection together, they all exude this thing
Yeah.
Sure.
that is so impactful to people that when they walk in the door and they look at them and they get, taken aback by whatever
Totally.
bit of it is,
Yeah.
they're talking to strangers when
Yeah.
they typically wouldn't. And that's just wild.
Yeah. And the
Wild.
stories that these photos tell
Yeah.
to make it
Absolutely.
more Wes Anderson,
For sure.
more because they're so good. And
Right.
we try to pick these characters, and I think I'm going to jump ahead again. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
In book 2 especially, we really focused on the stories way more, I think.
We evolved a lot since 2019. And the stories that we tell and the way that we tell stories, it used to be mostly us up late, like ripping stuff off Wikipedia and rewriting it as like a fact-based narrative. This is now as we have evolved through going on our own adventures, meeting members of the community, we have exhibitions, we've just seen how this can flex a little bit into something that's not like picture on the internet, got it. Like it's different now.
Right.
There's other rungs. I like to call it like there's like a bullseye, and like we're investigating the outer rungs of the bullseye, so to speak. And the characters that we have organically met through many of our adventures are unbelievable humans, and they have really cool stories.
Sure.
And the thing that we always talked about before was many of these places are just normal places. However, it might just be an office building, but thousands of people every day or week have walked in and out of there.
Yeah.
And
Interacting with the space.
and how many stories does each person have in their own,
sure.
right?
Yep.
So that is like its own collection
Yeah.
of these thousands of things and emotions and memories and
Yeah.
feelings and whatever. And so we've started to just like,
Pick out a piece of history rather than trying. I feel like in the beginning we were trying to sum up the entire history of a place that was built in 1500
Yeah.
BC.
Impossible,
And
like-
it's impossible.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
just picking out, even if it was in more recent day or whatever, picking out a character or someone who made an impact in that space and telling their story.
Yeah.
I think also trying to find, one of the other things that we hoped that this could be when it first started was when we traveled, we would do 3 things. One, we would see if Anthony Bourdain had been there.
I love that.
And if that
I
was
do
the-
that too.
That's why we went to Argentina. That's why our first adventure happened. That's why we went there. Was
Okay.
because we saw him and we were like, that seems cool. There's a
like
penguin
him.
in a bar with an old man.
Yeah.
We should go check that out.
Yeah.
So we would see if Anthony Bourdain had gone there. Number 2, we would check Atlas Obscura. And number 3, if we were driving around the US, we would check Roadside America. That was it. Those were our 3 things. As AWA progressed, I wanted to see it, and I think we both wanted to see it as one of those 4 things. That what would we check
Yeah.
And I don't want to be, I don't want AWA to be the comprehensive history, because we're not the historians. We're not the
Right.
experts.
And I don't want to be a TripAdvisor and tell
Right.
you
No.
to
That's
eat at
not the
this
point.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Got it.
I want to show you a cool picture of a thing. And if I can inspire you with a fun fact that you can, we're big fans of fun fact. Fun fact is our favorite thing, is a fun fact. Okay?
My favorite thing is, did you know?
Did you know? It's-
Same thing.
Yes.
Did you know? Fun fact. Yeah, it's right there. I like the more you know, like that. So you know, but the fun fact is something that I, as what I like to call myself, is the lowest common denominator. I'm the LCD.
Okay.
If you can keep my attention, if you can make me interested in something,
Yeah.
you're capturing this portion of the community that their brain is so scattered that you win, right? Because that's me.
Yeah.
So grab me with a pretty picture, tell me a fun fact about that. You've got me hooked, and now I'm going to go do my own research. I'm going to do my own digging. I want you guys, I want everybody to see something on our website or on our Instagram and be like, that's cool. Oh, and they did that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah.
Maybe they can visit themselves. Maybe they can just do some digging. But
Yeah.
like, you know, like inspire people to, you don't want to inspire anybody to do anything. I just want them to see something and maybe be motivated to
Right.
check it out a little deeper for themselves.
Which
Yeah.
is in its own sense inspiration. You know, it doesn't have to be this like, oh, I'm so inspired. Like I'm gonna
it's just
book my trip now. and-
Inspo is such a
yeah,
cliche.
I know.
Like,
But that's literally what it is. You're like making them think in a different way after interacting with whatever you created. I think what's so cool about what you're saying is your brand is literally physically getting bigger in the sense that it all started with like a photo you interact with on your screen, like this tiny thing, to a book that you can touch, to
An exhibition.
exhibition that you can immerse yourself in and literally experience and surround yourself in. And I think after that is what you're saying is like focus on the voices, the people that make a place special.
For sure.
It's just so organic and makes sense. And then it's just what you guys are doing.
just
It's really
AWA IRL is our favorite
Yeah,
part of it. It's
yeah,
just
I
like
bet.
bringing that digital and making it like real.
For sure.
Like something you can touch.
Yeah.
You know?
So you guys have really done so much with the brand itself. Exhibitions, books. You talking about this new book. You keep mentioning it. I need to know more. When does it come out? Are you still working on it? I guess
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
still
Very much
working
still
on
working
it.
on
Okay, so you don't have a date that is going to hit
We do. It's
you do?
October 22nd is what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be.
of this year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're right at the edge
it's in
of like
there.
it's due soon.
Yeah, like 6 months now. I
we
mean,
have all the
7 months.
copy, all the photos, all the photographers, all
No
of the
cover.
things ready.
No cover yet.
We're in coverland.
Coverland.
Who makes the decision on the cover?
All of us. I mean,
Us.
us and our publisher. I guess he
publisher.
gets to say too.
Okay.
Not really.
But
Respect, Mike, but like, you know.
But what is what is like, we've seen the first cover, the first book. What is the decision making that's going behind? Because I know what I think about when I'm trying to sell a book or I'm going to put an image on the front cover of a book. What are you seeing as like, this is the thing? What does it take? Like, what are the things you're like, it needs to have this to be the cover of our book?
Well, we learned that it needs to have enough sky to have a cover. We've tried a lot of options. We were like, this is a cover. And it
So
was
when you
like,
say sky, you mean like negative space?
yes, there's nowhere to put a title.
Got it.
And so that was a struggle that our publisher was trying to make us realize for a long time until we actually saw it. We were like, oh yeah, you can't read anything on that.
Makes sense, huh?
Cool. And I want it to feel different than this cover. So you don't think it's just the same book
Yeah.
that we put a new cover on.
I see.
So that was a bit of a challenge and pop of color, but also this book is Accidentally Wes Anderson Adventures. So I wanted it to embody adventures a little bit. So people know that this is a little bit of a different journey than the first book, but if you loved the first book, you will love the second book.
It's got to be a photo that the way I've been thinking about it is like, this is a photo that I would get a tattoo of. And not in
Yeah,
a real
that's
way.
true.
I'm not going to do that necessarily.
Because you don't have this tattoo, the first cover.
I can't, not where I can show you. No, I don't. But in all reality, that's a photo that we have to live with forever. That is
Sure.
attached to our names.
Sure.
And it needs to, by itself, without a title, scream us and
For
embody
sure.
the community and everything about it.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all.
But when you say that, is this cover image an image you've taken?
No.
We don't know.
Yeah, you don't know yet.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, we don't know.
You don't
Yeah.
know. So I could possibly take a photo today
and it could be the
and
cover.
submit, and it
next-
could end up as a cover.
100%. Yeah.
I'm getting all the good notes so I can see if
Submissions.
I'm so gonna try.
Submissions are always open.
Yeah.
Legit. We get 3,000 submissions through our website every month.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, and I look
3,000
at
photo
every
submissions.
single one of
You
them.
do?
Every single one.
up until 1 a.m. still, or
Sometimes, yeah, I do my best creative work at night.
I get it. I do a lot of my best creative work in the middle, the witching
3
hour, I
a.m.
guess, at 3 a.m. I do. I love
Good,
that. So
the good creepy time.
Good creepy.
The creepy,
creepy good.
The
Creepy
creepy
good.
good.
creepy
time.
good time. We're on creepy good time. So you're figuring out what the cover is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we adventure to in this book?
Every continent.
This is 200. Our first book was 200 photos. This is another set of 200 new photos. Some you have seen, many you have not seen. But this takes you through every single continent.
Wow.
Some of the stories are short and sweet. Some of them broken up into 10 chapters.
Wow.
We go on 10 different adventures that are more long
deep
form,
dive.
Right.
deeper dive. We have gone on many of these adventures, and some of the adventures have been gone on by members of the community. So you're going all over the world, but the characters that we're going to meet are wild in
love
and
that.
of themselves.
That's so fun.
It's another edition. This is basically an extended version of our travel bucket list that has now just tacked on even more, that we're really going to have to fast forward or figure out some fancy vitamins that are going to keep us alive for another 300 years to visit all these places, because it's a lot.
It's a lot of places.
No pressure.
What is
You go to Antarctica too? In the
did.
book?
We did go to
You
Antarctica.
specifically went?
Yeah.
That's one
Yeah.
of the adventures that we went on. We went to Antarctica last year in December.
That's so incredible.
No, 2022. 22 last year.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Some December we were there.
Got it.
Fun.
Is it cold there in December?
It
is-
was manageable.
That's good.
It's
Yeah.
their
Is that
summer.
their summer? That's what I
It's
figured.
their summer.
their
But the
summer.
story about that, Roald Amundsen is the guy who discovered it.
Okay.
Discovered it.
Yeah.
Wild story. I mean,
Yeah.
the story that what we discovered about that and then put together for this book, unbelievable.
That's
Okay.
my favorite
Can't
one.
wait.
For
Okay.
sure.
That is 100%
Cliffhanger there,
our
everyone.
favorite one.
Cliffhanger.
Gotta get the book.
So let's just ask, I guess, the question.
Yeah.
There's many adventures you've taken, your community has taken. The ones that you've taken, what is the one that you would say to everyone listening, watching, they need to take this adventure as well?
There's a right answer here.
It doesn't have to be the answer that she's pushing on
It
you.
doesn't have to be soul.
It doesn't have to be so.
Okay. Well, honestly, I think that that's in a non-cliche way. That's a really tough question to answer because I feel like the word adventure, we have kind of made our own version of it or our own definition of it. Where an adventure, this is like adventures big and small, so to speak. Adventures, sure, you can go to Antarctica, but not everybody can go to Antarctica. Not everybody should go to Antarctica, and just generally speaking. But there are things that are, yes, the Webster's defines adventure as Antarctica, but there's also AWA defines adventure as a trip to Baltimore or
Yeah.
going to Vermont
Yeah.
or going out your driveway and turning
Yeah,
left
yeah.
instead of right, because the people that you find, the characters you uncover, the communities and the stories and things, you don't know. You
Yeah.
don't know what you're gonna find,
Got it.
and you can find AWA, that look, that feel, that vibe, that story, that history. I always like to say, doesn't matter what city or town you're from.
For sure.
Go to your local library, go to the local courthouse, it's been there
Right.
forever, or talk to your local octogenarian, and you'll find something interesting that you
It's true.
didn't know.
I think
Yeah.
adventure in the AWA sense is a mindset more than anything. Like
Yes.
entering
Someone write that down.
entering and interacting with the space with a sense of like wonder and curiosity that you can go to the same local convenience store every day and not have that mentality. But when you do have that mentality, that's when it can unfold into being an adventure.
Yeah, for sure.
My favorite things are when people comment on some of the photos that we post and they go, I've walked by this building 100 times and I never expected to see it here. But now that they stop and look at it,
Like, oh yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
now I
sure.
get it. And I didn't know any of those fun facts.
For sure.
You know? Like I
Important.
didn't know any of that.
For sure. I think there was a moment when you posted, someone took a photo of the Rollins Conservatory, which is here. It's in my second book. I'm not trying to stunt. But I saw it and I was like, I love seeing something that I've looked at many times before. I've taken photos many times before, but then someone else's idea of it when they captured it at that moment on that day. And then also me going, look at my city shining in this space.
Yeah.
This, like that to me brought a lot of pride seeing.
pride there,
You
yeah,
know what I
for
mean?
sure.
And I'm sure everyone feels that when they see it posted on your site, on your channel, in your book, in your exhibition. Like that's us there. And I find it so beautiful. And I think it isn't just it's bigger than, I guess, the community itself that helps to support AWA. There's a lot of, like you just said, editing that happens on your end. Because while there's a lot that is being pushed out there, you guys have to then make the decision on what will be seen and what won't be seen. So I want everyone to understand it. While you might say you don't know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? You know what you're doing. You've got the right people in place to help in the process, to do the thing. And it's from the outside looking in, it is done very well.
Thank you.
I just have to say, and I'm going to end on this because it's so important. If any of you haven't gone to accidentallywesanderson.com and gone to the shop, you are missing out. The products that you have, so on point when it comes to that aesthetic.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much.
Every single thing I have ever received. This is how I know something special. I don't know you guys enough yet to tell you I love you, but I love you. You guys are great.
We love you too.
But when I got your stuff, the first thing I said, 2 words, fuck you. Fuck you.
I was going to say love you, but I love it.
Fuck
I was
you.
like, what are these 2 words that could possibly be?
So fucking good.
The second thing he did was slack all of us, being like, why can't we have this?
No, not even slack. Not even slack. Get on this meeting, Google Meet, and look at them. Look at all these things. Look at how good they are. Look, everything is so well thought out.
Yeah.
When we talk about travel, you're like, let's break down travel. So I'm expecting more from you when it comes to travel itself. When it comes to luggage, maybe there's a way you start to tie things but every single detail, and I think about that in the sense of the things that I love about Wes Anderson films, every single detail. I don't know if you even notice.
I did.
But this has nothing to do with Wes Anderson. But it's my favorite Wes Anderson film right now, I would say, might be Fantastic Mr. Fox, because I think that's where we are with his newer films.
Sure.
Something shifted once that film was made. But this is something I expect for you from your brand to start making. Things that pull you into that world that was Wes Anderson, that is still Wes Anderson now, is playful, it's fun, it's whimsical, it's everything we want to be. It's bright, it's poppy, it's well curated, it's also composed. And when I look at the products, when I look at the brand in general, I say the biggest fuck you, but it is the biggest love you.
Of course.
Because I'm like, holy shit. You hit it. And I'm like, I want more. That's really what it is. I'm like, I want more of this. I want this.
Yeah.
Like whenever when I first saw a Wes Anderson film, I'm in art school, I'm in film school, and I'm seeing these films, and I'm like, I want to make that. It's so good. I want that feeling in my work. I want to capture that. You have it. You've bottled it up. You've made it yours. And now you're putting that excitement, that energy out into the world. Now, I'm not sure if you'll ever have a brick and mortar, if that's a goal for you.
I would love to.
That'd be pretty cool.
I want it to happen.
I want to own a good creepy motel with like a side store, you know. And that's where our gift shop is.
Yeah.
I want like an AWA Camp Wandawega.
Oh, that would be
Right,
so
like
sick.
a
You need an
summer
AWA
camp.
motel,
Right.
like
Yeah.
a B&B
Motel.
with a gift shop. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, so
sold.
maybe. We gotta work on our house first. We got one house at a
You
time.
got one house.
brick and mortar at a time.
You can call it Creepy Good Inn.
I love
CGI.
That doesn't work.
No CGI.
We'll keep working on it.
We'll keep workshopping.
I'm not into that one, but all I want to say is I want to kudos to all of you.
Thank you.
I know that you have plenty of people working with you on your team. You're doing it right. You might not know what you say you don't know what you're doing, but you actually do because you're putting the right people in place to be a part of your family. It takes a lot of people who are going to be there with you to keep it going, to be there with you because they're excited about it, and that's difficult. Finding people who are like, I'm just as excited as you are about this brand, and I want to make sure that every step of the way we are making it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if you're traveling with these people.
I mean,
as well.
Morgan.
We could not have lucked
Marjorie,
out more
Grace,
with the humans
and then
on our team.
And then like the extended family of people who have literally donated their time, like friendship, all of the David, Chris, Connor, like the list goes on of people that have just like, oh, that's cool that you're doing that. And I'm like, we can't afford you. And they're like, that's okay. We'll figure it out. But I mean, Morgan and Grace are the two like saving graces of AWA, big Swiss Army knife and little Swiss Army knife, respectively. And, you know, we were defining their job titles and I was like, what do you want it to be? And they were figuring it out. And I was like, write down all the things that you do on a day-to-day basis.
Like, where do I start?
Oh,
Swiss Army knife. I don't know what else. It's,
jack of all trades.
That's it.
Yeah, if you can write an email, put an Excel sheet together, and then go out and shoot content on either a real camera or video on
I
an
love that
iPhone.
you guys still call it a real camera. Like, you have like a photography book sitting right there. You're like, the real camera.
Yeah, the real.
Take the real camera
I'm a real
first.
boy. Yeah.
I'm a real. Yo, did you? Right, a running joke with Ryan and I. I'm a real boy, and you just hit it. I'm a real boy. Because there was a moment where I was like, I'm a real boy. Now I can be a real boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wild.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I
syndrome,
feel
is
that. It's a weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the team, the family that has come around it, this has been a continual evolution from what we started in 2017 on a whim to the book, to all the things, to the exhibitions, to we don't know what's next, but listening to the community, always acting on their behalf, and almost just being a steward of that vibe and that feeling and that understanding of what AWA is and could be the stories, the communities, the architecture, the places, the people, and pulling that all together into, you know, people are like, well, what do you want to do next? And we're like, I don't I don't know.
Serpentine. Let it just happen.
Let it
It'll
happen.
happen.
Not
It's
focus
gonna-
on it too much.
Exactly.
And celebrate the tiny things.
Celebrate the tiny
And the big
little
things.
thing.
And the big things.
Because
And
these
the
are big
little-
things.
Celebrate all the things.
So celebrate
things.
all the things. So let's take a moment to celebrate before we go. You have book number 1 out.
Book number 1
If you
is
don't
out.
have it already, go get it. It's right there. Some of you who are just listening, you can't see it, but you know what it is. Accidentally Wes Anderson. No adventure on the first one.
No adventure.
The second book, due out in October.
Accidentally
Wes
Wes
Anderson Adventure.
Adventures.
Adventures.
Let's-
Many
yeah.
adventures.
There's so many
Sorry,
adventures.
many
Can't count
adventures. You can count them.
You can. There's
that-
11.
10
No,
or
there's
11.
10.
There's 10.
Okay, cool.
There's 10.
You can count them.
So we know the first book. We know the first book is in 9 different languages. The second book will probably be in every single
at
language
least-
there
Fingers
is.
crossed.
At least 3
All
so
they got.
far. So we'll find out if there's more.
That's beautiful. You have AWA, the exhibition, out right now in London. It'll be there until July or until
June.
June.
Yep.
And then it'll be in Los Angeles when?
Starting in April, likely.
Oh,
Wow,
soon.
starting in April.
Yeah.
Yep. Until to be determined.
It's to be determined.
Until TBD.
I'm going to be out in LA.
I know a guy who can get you tickets, probably.
Yeah.
Well, I need.
Grace, get on that. Grace,
Y'all can
get on
exchange
that.
tickets to your events.
Please, let's get that going. And other than that, we don't know what the future holds. We're going to let it happen. We're going to enjoy these moments.
We're gonna
I want to
ruminate.
celebrate all of this with you. You guys are rock stars.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. This
Yeah,
was awesome.
thank you so
Rocking out.
much.
Everyone go to accidentallywesanderson.com to check out everything they're doing, to hit that shop, some beautiful pieces there. Make sure you get that book when it comes out, and visit them on social. You're across every...
Most of them.
Yeah.
We're not really TikTok people,
We tried.
but we tried. It's there.
It's there.
It's there.
It's there.
It exists.
You know, Instagram's probably the home run, but
Yeah.
the website's where it's at. So
And if you-
check
That's
that.
awesome.
Go to those places.
And if you can't type accidentallywesAnderson.com into your phone or your computer, just type accidentally.co. I couldn't afford accidentally.com, but I got accidentally.co.
I'll take
Is
that
it
any
.co?
day.
Yeah.
Have I been missing this .co?
The accidentally one.
Oh, copy.
Yeah.
Okay, copy. I guess the last thing I do want to say here, there was something I was about to say about, utilizing the hashtag, be a part of the community. Get on that hashtag.
Submit
your
They are
photos.
free. Submit your
Missions
photos.
are always open.
Yeah,
So cool.
Always.
Hopefully, by the time this goes out into the world, maybe they already have an idea for the cover. But if they don't, you still have a chance to make the cover. So
Please, sincerely, you don't have to be a professional photographer. You don't have to have anything.
You don't have to
but
have a real
You don't
camera.
have to have a
you
real
don't
camera.
have to have a real camera. Just snap the photo. You think it looks nice. We look at every single one. Every single one we look at. It takes a long time, but the community takes a lot of time to share their photos with us. So we owe them that respect. And sometimes we find some really awesome gems.
I bet. I bet.
I love it.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. Community, this is Amanda and Wally, AWA. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are inspired to go and travel the world. Do the thing, like Molly likes to say.
Press the button, do the thing.
Press the button, do the thing, like, follow. And we'll be talking to you soon. Have a good one.
Peace out, team.
Cheers.
Balancing work and life can be really stressful, and finding ways to work through the stress is always a goal of mine. Of course, the process of nurturing plants helps me to slow down, take a breath, and bring in joy. But unfortunately, my plants aren't licensed therapists with expert advice. Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp.com/Hilton. Clicking this link helps to support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. Starting this podcast was supposed to be a little extra therapy for me, getting the ideas in my head out. Good to know I can always use BetterHelp just in case Molly can't help me. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Hilton. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel.